I woke up on the floor with someone else's jacket under my head. Fluorescent lights, coffee smell, metallic taste in my mouth. The hospital called Ethan 17 times. He never came. Not one text. But Victoria posted a photo. Mimosas, sunlight, smiling. Finally, a drama-free Sunday. The house in the background. My house, the one I gave them. That's when I understood. I wasn't the drama. I was the bill they forgot to pay. So I made the call, just one, and took back what I'd given them 4 years ago. If you've ever felt invisible to the people you raised, drop a comment. And if you're new here, subscribe. You'll want to hear how this ends. 6 hours in observation. Afternoon light slanting through blue and white striped curtains. The blood pressure cuff inflated every 20 minutes. Beep, release, beep. Antiseptic, mixed with the smell of dinner trays from somewhere upstairs. Meatloaf, maybe. I wasn't hungry. I sat on the bed holding my leather purse. The one David gave me for my 40th birthday. The strap was worn soft, where my hand always gripped it. I pressed my thumb against the edge of the bed rail. Not hard, just enough to feel something solid. My phone lay face up on the thin blanket. 3 texts from Denise at work. Are you okay? Let me know when you're home. I'm so sorry. 1 from the dentist's office. Reminder, cleaning scheduled for Thursday, 2 p.m. Nothing from Ethan. I opened my photos, scrolled back, stopped on his 8th birthday. The dinosaur cake I'd made by hand. Green frosting, chocolate rocks, a little plastic T-Rex on top. He'd called me Mama until he was 8 because he said Mom sounded too grown up. I set the phone down, face down this time. The last time Ethan hugged me was 4 years ago, his wedding day. I remembered because the hug felt shorter, colder, like he was already pulling away before his arms even dropped. Maybe I raised a son who thought love was a free house. The morning replayed in flashes. The craft store where I worked part-time. I'd been checking inventory in the yarn aisle. Then the headache. Sudden, vicious. The dizziness. My knees hitting linoleum. Denise found me. Called 911. Called Ethan from my emergency contacts. 17 times, the nurse said. He never picked up. A nurse stepped in now. Younger, tired eyes. Your son still hasn't returned our calls. Is there anyone else we can contact? I shook my head. You sure? A friend? A neighbor? I'm sure. She nodded and left. But I wasn't sure. Maybe that's my answer right there. I told her no. But I was lying. There was someone I could call, just not someone they'd expect. 5 years ago, the house was full. 3 bedrooms in suburban Pennsylvania. A backyard with the wooden swing David built when Ethan was 6. The chains rusted now, but it still moved in the wind. David died 3 years before that. Heart attack, 58. I came home from the grocery store and found him on the kitchen floor. After the funeral, Ethan stayed. 6 months on the couch. He made sure I ate, made sure I got out of bed. He fixed the porch light I'd been asking David to replace for 2 years. We were close then. He'd always been close. Only child. In college, he came home every weekend, helped me paint the bathroom, learned to make my chicken soup because he said no one else's tasted right. Then he met Victoria. Dating app. I was happy for him. He'd spent so much time taking care of me. He deserved someone. The first dinner was at my house. I made lasagna, set the table with the good plates. Victoria was beautiful, thin, lawyer, real estate contracts. She wore a cream blazer and heels, even though I'd told Ethan it was casual. She looked around the kitchen. At the cabinets I'd painted myself in the 1990s. At the floral couch David and I bought at a yard sale. This house is so cozy, she said. Do you plan to downsize soon? I smiled. I hadn't thought about it. Ethan changed after that. Sunday dinners. Gone. He'd text at the last minute. Something came up. Sorry, Mom. Phone calls got shorter. Mom, I gotta go. Victoria's calling. Sometimes I'd call and hear her voice in the background. Is that your mom again? The wedding was 4 years ago. Big, expensive, downtown hotel, 200 people. I sat near the kitchen, not at the family table. I didn't say anything, just smiled in the photos. My wedding gift was the house. I'd planned it for months, talked to Robert Hayes, David's old friend, real estate attorney. He drew up the papers. I want you to have roots, I told Ethan the morning of the wedding. A place your children can come home to. He hugged me. That short, cold hug. The house became his, legally, fully. I asked if I could stay, just until I found something smaller. Of course, Mom, he said. It's still your home. I paid rent, $800 a month. The night after the wedding, I sat alone in the kitchen, looked at the photo on the fridge. Ethan at 6, missing his front teeth, grinning. I told myself I was setting him free. I didn't know I was locking myself out. 4 years later, he visited less. Victoria never visited at all. I paid rent every month, to live in the house that used to be mine. $800 every first of the month, for 4 years. I wasn't a tenant, I was a subscription they forgot to cancel. That's when I started disappearing, not just from the house, from his life. But I told myself it was temporary, that once they had kids, things would change. I was half right. Things did change, just not the way I thought. Evening now. The nurse brought dinner, chicken soup, crackers, lukewarm tea. I didn't touch it. I picked up my phone, scrolled through my contacts, past Ethan's name, down to the R's. Robert Hayes. Real estate attorney. David's friend, the one who'd helped me sign the house away. I pressed call. 2 rings. Claire? Robert, I need to know something. That house I transferred to Ethan. Is there any clause about me being allowed to stay? Silence. Claire, you signed a quitclaim deed. You have no legal ownership. Why are you asking? Can I sell it back? Not unless Ethan agrees to transfer it back to you first. What if I never officially moved out? Pause. Longer this time. Claire, what's going on? I didn't answer, because I didn't have the words yet. But in my head, something was forming. A plan. Small. Quiet. I'd given them the house, but I'd never left it, and that meant something. I'll call you back, Robert. I need to check something first. I hung up, sat in the dark, phone in my hand. Part of me wanted to call Ethan, to beg, to ask why. But the other part, the part that woke up alone on that floor, stayed silent. Because silence, I was learning, is its own kind of power. For years, they told me to stay quiet. Now my silence has lawyers. They discharged me the next morning. Diagnosis: exhaustion, low blood pressure, stress-related malnutrition. The doctor said rest, monitor your symptoms, make sure someone's with you. I nodded. I knew I'd be going home alone. Denise picked me up. She drove a Honda with a rosary hanging from the mirror. We didn't talk much. Halfway home, she handed me her phone. Claire, have you seen this? Instagram. Victoria's account. At Victoria Lives Well. The photo was from Sunday, the day I collapsed. Victoria and Ethan at a brunch place downtown. White tablecloth. Champagne flutes catching the sunlight through tall windows. Both of them smiling. The caption: finally. A drama-free Sunday. Sometimes you just need to unplug and recharge. Hashtag self-care, hashtag boundaries matter. 847 likes, 23 comments. You deserve it. Boundaries are healthy. Good for you for protecting your peace. I zoomed in on Ethan's face. He looked lighter, like a weight had been lifted. Was I the weight? I scrolled down, found more. 3 weeks ago, setting boundaries with toxic family members isn't selfish. It's survival. Hashtag no contact, hashtag healing journey. 2 months ago, gentle reminder, you're not responsible for managing other people's emotions, especially not forever. Every post had hundreds of likes. In Victoria's story, I was the toxic one, the burden, the drama. And I'd been living in it, invisible, for years. She'd been building a narrative. You called me dramatic, Victoria. I call it documented. Denise dropped me off. I thanked her, went inside. The house was quiet, still mine, still not. I pulled out my old laptop, created a fake Instagram account, no photo, random name. Followed Victoria. Started scrolling backward through her timeline. What I found wasn't just posts. It was evidence. And that's when I realized. This wasn't new. They'd been planning this long before I hit the floor. 3 days later, I drove to the house. My house, their house. I didn't know what to call it anymore. Saturday afternoon, I knew they'd be home. I dressed carefully. Navy sweater, khakis, low leather flats, presentable, calm. I baked an apple pie that morning, Ethan's favorite, the one he used to ask for every birthday. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to ask one question. I parked down the street, looked at the house through the rearview mirror. The lawn was freshly mowed. They must have hired someone. David used to do it himself every Saturday. New planters on the front steps, minimalist, concrete, not my style. It was still my house, but it didn't feel like home anymore. I walked up, knocked. Victoria opened the door. Her face went pale. "Claire, what are you doing here?" "I came to see Ethan. Is he home?" "He's busy." "I'll wait." I stepped past her, into the house. She didn't stop me. Maybe she was too shocked. Inside, everything had changed. The floral couch David and I bought at a yard sale. Gone, replaced by white leather, modern, cold. The family photos on the walls. Gone, abstract art now, expensive frames. I set the pie on the counter. Ethan appeared from the hallway, froze. "Mom, what are you?" He looked at Victoria. "Did you know she was coming?" "The hospital called you 17 times, Ethan. 17. He looked down. "I was going to call back. Things have been busy?" I gestured to the pie. "I made your favorite, apple pie, the one you used to ask for every birthday." Victoria stepped between us. "Claire, this isn't a good time. Ethan and I were just about to." I turned to her. My voice didn't rise. It dropped. "I saw your post, the one from Sunday, drama-free. Was that about me?" Her face flushed. She didn't answer. "Ethan." "Mom, don't what? Ask why my son didn't come when I collapsed? Ask why his wife is posting celebration photos while I'm in the hospital?" Victoria's voice went sharp. "You want the truth, Claire? You're exhausting. Every week, it's something. A problem, a need, a crisis. I asked you for help twice this year. Twice. It's not about the number. It's about the energy, the guilt trips, the expectations." Ethan stepped forward. His voice was small. "Mom, Victoria's right. You need to. Maybe see someone. Get help." "Get help?" I looked at my son. "Ethan, I raised you in this house. I gave you this house." Victoria laughed, short, cold. "And you've never let us forget it." I didn't raise my voice. I let it fall, quiet, steady. "You're right, Victoria. I gave you this house. My mistake was thinking it came with a heart." I paused. Let the words settle. "But I'm not here to argue. I'm here to tell you. I'm taking it back." I turned to Ethan. "I didn't come here for an apology. I came to see if there was anything left of my son. I have my answer now." I walked to the door. The pie sat untouched on the counter, still warm, still perfect. Just like everything else I'd given them. Ethan called after me. "Mom, wait." But Victoria put her hand on his shoulder. I heard her voice as I stepped outside. "Let her go. She's just trying to manipulate you again." I didn't look back. But in my purse, my phone was recording. Every word. Because sometimes the truth needs a witness. That night, I sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, notebook beside it. Chamomile tea going cold in a mug. The overhead light cast everything yellow. I started making a list. I opened my checkbook, went back 4 years. Rent. $800 per month, 48 months. I did the math twice. $38,400. I'd paid nearly $40,000 to live in the house I'd given them. I kept going. Birthday gifts for Ethan. Roughly $500 every year. 4 years, $2,000. Christmas, about $800 each year. Another $3,200. The wedding gift, the house itself. Estimated value in 2020, $285,000. Plus, my contribution to the wedding. Victoria had said they didn't need it, but I'd insisted. $12,000. For flowers and centerpieces I didn't pick. I opened my phone, scrolled through 18 months of call logs. Outgoing calls to Ethan, 127. Incoming from Ethan, 11. Average length of his calls, under 3 minutes. Text messages were worse. I'd sent hundreds. How are you? Thinking of you. Let me know if you need anything. His responses? Okay, busy, talk later. I set the phone down. I opened the laptop, logged into the fake Instagram account. Scrolled back 2 years through Victoria's posts. The pattern was clear. May 2023. Learning to protect my peace. Not everyone who raised you deserves access to your life. September 2023. Therapist told me, you can love someone from a distance. That hit different. January 2024. Normalize cutting off family members who drain you. Blood doesn't mean you're obligated. June 2024. 1 week before I collapsed. Some people confuse being a mother with owning their adult children. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're survival. She hadn't just talked Ethan into distancing himself. She'd built a public case for it. A case where I was the villain. And the worst part? I'd given her the ammunition. Every call, every favor I asked, every time I said, it's just me. I don't want to bother anyone else. I searched my inbox for Robert Hayes. Found the email from 2020, the house transfer documents attached. I opened them for the first time in 4 years. Read every line. There it was. Buried in paragraph 7. Right of occupancy. I had the right to stay, indefinitely, as long as I paid rent or equivalent maintenance. But Ethan could terminate it if he decided to sell or occupy the property as his primary residence. I kept reading. Opened my kitchen drawer, the one where I kept bills I hadn't filed yet. Found a letter, 2 months old. Notice to terminate right of occupancy. Ethan's signature at the bottom. Effective date, September 1st, 2025. Today was October 5th. I'd missed the deadline. I should have been gone 5 weeks ago. They weren't ignoring me out of neglect. They were freezing me out. And that post, Drama-Free Sunday, wasn't just cruel. It was strategic. They'd been building a case, not in court, in the court of public opinion, making sure everyone saw me as the burden, the problem. I folded the papers, looked at the photo still stuck to the fridge, Ethan at 10, hugging me after his school concert. They'd spent 2 years making me invisible. It was time to be seen. I picked up the phone, not to call Ethan, to call the one person who could tell me what right of occupancy really meant, and whether they'd made a mistake by trying to erase me. Morning came. I called Robert at 8. Claire, I was hoping you'd call back. I found the termination letter. Silence. I need to know what it means. He took a breath. The right of occupancy clause is legally binding. Ethan can't just kick you out with a letter. This isn't legal. I felt something loosen in my chest, then tighten again. Wait, do you know something? Long pause. Claire, have you checked the county property records recently? No, why? Because Ethan and Victoria filed a petition to clear the title 2 months ago. I opened my laptop while he talked, pulled up the county property website, typed in the address. There it was. Quiet title action. Filed August 10th, 2025. Reason: remove cloud on title due to informal occupancy agreement. Informal? I said aloud. I have a written contract. Robert heard me. Exactly. But Claire, there's more. More? They filed for a home equity line of credit. $200,000. I did the math fast. So they're trying to extract money from the house I gave them? That's why they need you gone. Your occupancy right blocks the loan. My hand tightened on the phone. When was the last time you paid rent? Last month, October 1st, like always. Good, because in their petition, they claim you abandoned the property 6 months ago. My hand started shaking. That's a lie. I know, but they put it in a legal document, under oath. I clicked through more files on the website, Found another petition. Petition for Elder Financial Exploitation Investigation. Filed by Victoria Hayes. On behalf of Ethan Hayes, date filed. 3 weeks ago. I read the summary out loud. Respondent allegedly emotionally manipulated son to retain occupancy rights without payment. Petitioners request court-appointed guardian to manage respondent's assets and welfare. Robert's voice was quiet. They're trying to have you declared incompetent. I sat very still, didn't cry, just felt cold, from the inside out. I looked down at my hands, wrinkled skin, veins raised, age spots. These hands changed Ethan's diapers, held his hand on his first day of school, taught him to tie his shoes. These hands raised him, and now they were being used as evidence that I was unfit. Robert, I need you to file a counterclaim, and I need a full financial audit of how they've used the property. Claire, that could get ugly. It already is ugly, Robert. I'm just turning on the lights. He was quiet for a moment. All right, I'll start the paperwork today. Thank you. Claire, one more thing. The petition includes a statement from a healthcare provider. Who? Dr. Lisa Martinez, listed as your primary care physician. I went cold. I've never heard of her. Silence. They forged a medical statement, Claire. That's when I knew. This wasn't just greed. This wasn't just cruelty. They'd been building a legal trap. And I'd been living in it, blind, for 2 years. But they'd made one mistake. They'd left evidence. And I was about to use every piece of it. 3 days later, Saturday morning, I sat at the corner table of Miller's Cafe. The place I came to every week, before everything fell apart. My laptop was open. Robert had emailed me copies of the counterclaim. I was reading through paragraph 7 when I heard a small voice. Excuse me, are you Mrs. Hayes? I looked up. A little girl, maybe 8, holding an iPad, brown hair in 2 braids. Yes. How do you know my name? My mom told me. She said, you used to make the best cookies for the school bake sale. A woman appeared behind her, mid-30s, familiar face I couldn't place. Claire, I'm so sorry to interrupt. She put a hand on the girl's shoulder. I'm Sarah Hayes, Robert's daughter. Robert's daughter. We were in the same grade, she said, me and Ethan. 15 years ago, my dad told me what's happening. I couldn't believe it. I gestured to the chair across from me. Please. Saturday. The little girl climbed into the seat beside her. I remember you, Sarah said. You were the mom who always showed up. Every field trip, every school play. You were everywhere. I smiled. It felt thin. I tried to be. No, you were. I remember my dad forgot my 6th grade graduation. I cried in the bathroom. You found me. You gave me a tissue and told me, sometimes the people who love us mess up, but that doesn't mean they don't love us. I remembered. The girl with the long dark hair, red eyes. I'd stayed with her until Robert arrived. That stuck with me, Sarah said, for years, and when my dad told me what Ethan's doing. She shook her head. I couldn't understand. How could the kid with that mom turn into this? The little girl tugged her sleeve. Mommy, who's Ethan? Someone who forgot where he came from, sweetie. Sarah pulled out her phone, scrolled, stopped. I found this last year, cleaning out my old room. She turned the screen toward me. A photo, faded. From a school field trip, 2005. Me, Ethan at 12. 5 other kids around a picnic table. I was handing out sandwiches. Ethan was laughing, his arm around my shoulders. You packed lunch for all of us that day, Sarah said, because 3 kids forgot theirs. You always did that. I touched the screen, looked at his face. He was so happy. So young. No coldness, no distance. What happened to that boy? Sarah asked quietly. I shook my head. I don't know. Maybe I held on too tight. Maybe I didn't let go soon enough. No. Sarah's voice was firm. Claire, my dad told me what they're trying to do. The documents, the lies. That's not about you holding on too tight. That's about them being cruel. But maybe if I'd been different. No. She leaned forward. I'm a mom now, too. She gestured to her daughter. And if Sophie ever did this to me, it wouldn't be because I loved her too much. It'd be because she chose to stop seeing me as a person. Something in my throat tightened. I felt tears coming. Not from anger, not from hurt, from being seen. "Thank you," I whispered. Sophie climbed onto the chair, grabbed a napkin from the table, held it out to me. "Don't be sad. My mommy says you're a good person." I took the napkin, dabbed my eyes. "Your mommy is very kind." Sophie tilted her head. "Are you somebody's mommy too?" I stopped. "I used to be." Sarah reached across the table, put her hand on mine. "You still are. He just forgot. But that doesn't change who you were to him, who you are. I don't know if I can forgive this." "You don't have to. Forgiveness isn't for people who don't deserve it. It's for you, so you can move on." I looked at her, then at Sophie. Saw something I hadn't seen in years. A family where love wasn't conditional, where a mother wasn't a burden. "You're right," I said. "I can't change Ethan, but I can stop letting him define me." Sarah smiled. "My dad says you're fighting back. Good. Some people need to lose you to learn respect, and if they never learn, at least you're free." We sat for a while longer. Sophie colored on a placemat. Sarah told me about her job, her husband, normal things. I listened. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel invisible. That night, I made a decision. Not out of revenge, not even out of justice, but because Sarah was right. I deserved to be free. And sometimes freedom means letting go of the house and the son you thought you'd have forever. 1 week later, Robert filed the counterclaim. He called me that afternoon. "It's done. We're officially pushing back." The counterclaim requested 4 things. 1. Dismiss Ethan and Victoria's quiet title petition. 2. Investigate the source of the forged medical statement. 3. Full financial audit of how they'd used the property since 2020. 4. Compensation for the rent I'd paid. "How long until we know something?" I asked. "Mediation is scheduled in 2 weeks, mandatory before trial." 2 weeks. Robert didn't wait. He hired a private investigator, a woman named Janet Pierce. 3 days later, she called me. "Mrs. Hayes, I found something about that medical statement." "What?" "Dr. Lisa Martinez is real. She practices in Cleveland, but she's never heard of you. When I called her office, she was furious. Said someone used her name and license number without permission. She's filing a police report." "So it's fraud." "Fraud and identity theft, both felonies." I sat down. Hard. Janet kept digging. She pulled public financial records, credit reports, mortgage filings. What she found made my stomach turn. Ethan and Victoria had refinanced the house in 2022. Cash-out refinance, $80,000. I remembered that year. Victoria had posted renovation photos on Instagram. New kitchen, hardwood floors, marble countertops. They'd pulled equity out of the house I gave them to renovate it. And now they owed $340,000 on a house worth $420,000. Plus, they were trying to get another $200,000 through the HELOC. Robert explained it to me over the phone. "Claire, if they get that $200,000 and spend it, they'll owe $540,000 against a house worth $420,000. They'd be underwater. One job loss, one market dip, and they'd lose everything." "They're not building a life in that house," I said quietly. "They're extracting every dollar from it." "Exactly." But Janet found something else. Something worse. She sent Robert a file late one night. He forwarded it to me with a subject line, "You need to see this." I opened it at my kitchen table, the overhead light humming. Victoria's divorce records, from 2016 to 2018. She'd been married before, to a man named Thomas Grant. The reason for divorce: irreconcilable differences. But buried in the court documents was a statement from Thomas. I read it twice. Respondent engaged in financial manipulation and isolating behavior. She systematically cut me off from my family, told me they were toxic, convinced me to sell my childhood home that my parents left me. By the time I realized what was happening, I'd lost my inheritance and my relationships. My hands went cold. She didn't just do this to Ethan. She'd done it before. 2 weeks later, I sat in a conference room at Robert's law office. Gray walls, long table, water pitcher sweating condensation. Mandatory mediation. Ethan and Victoria arrived with their attorney, a man in his 50s, expensive suit. I sat across from them. Ethan wouldn't look at me. Victoria sat straight, chin up, like she'd done nothing wrong. The mediator, a neutral third party, opened his folder. We're here to resolve the quiet title dispute. Mr. Hayes, you're seeking to remove your mother's right of occupancy. Mrs. Hayes, you're contesting and seeking financial damages. Let's start with... Robert interrupted. Before we start, I'd like to present new evidence. He placed a folder on the table. Opened it. Inside, a photocopy of the forged medical statement and an affidavit from Dr. Martinez denying she'd ever signed it. Your clients forged a medical document. That's a felony. Victoria's face went white. Ethan looked up. What? No, we didn't. Victoria grabbed his arm. Don't say anything. Their attorney picked up the documents. His jaw tightened. I need a moment with my clients. They stepped into the hall. Robert and I stayed. I stood by the window, looked out at the parking lot. You're doing the right thing, Robert said. Am I? Or am I just destroying what's left? Claire, they destroyed it first. You're just refusing to be buried in the rubble. 5 minutes later, they came back. Their attorney spoke first. My clients are willing to drop the quiet title petition. In exchange, Mrs. Hayes drops all financial claims. Robert didn't hesitate. Unacceptable. Your clients committed fraud. We're not negotiating fraud away. Victoria's voice shook. We didn't forge anything. Someone at the office must have. Robert slid another document across the table. The document has email metadata. Mrs. Hayes, sent from your personal Gmail account. Silence. I spoke for the first time. Ethan, look at me. He lifted his eyes. Reluctant. Did you know she did this before? To her first husband? His face changed. Confusion. Then fear. He turned to Victoria. What is she talking about? That's irrelevant and... I kept my voice level. She convinced him to sell his family home too. Cut him off from his parents. It's in the court records. Public information. Ethan stared at her. Victoria, is that true? It was different. He was... Yes or no? It's complicated. Ethan stood up. I need air. He walked out. Victoria watched him go. Then she looked at me. And for the first time in 4 years, I didn't see contempt. I saw fear. Because she knew. The narrative she'd built was cracking. And once it broke, there'd be no putting it back together. 2 weeks later, I sat in a conference room at Robert's law office. Gray walls, long table, water pitcher sweating condensation. Mandatory mediation. Ethan and Victoria arrived with their attorney, a man in his 50s, expensive suit. I sat across from them. Ethan wouldn't look at me. Victoria sat straight, chin up, like she'd done nothing wrong. The mediator opened his folder. We're here to resolve the quiet title dispute. Let's start with... Robert interrupted. Before we start, I'd like to present new evidence. He placed a folder on the table. Opened it. Inside, a photocopy of the forged medical statement and an affidavit from Dr. Martinez denying she'd ever signed it. Your clients forged a medical document. That's a felony. Victoria's face went white. Ethan looked up. What? No, we didn't. Victoria grabbed his arm. Don't say anything. Their attorney picked up the documents. His jaw tightened. I need a moment with my clients. They stepped into the hall. Robert and I stayed. I stood by the window, looked out at the parking lot. You're doing the right thing, Robert said. Am I? Or am I just destroying what's left? Claire, they destroyed it first. You're just refusing to be buried in the rubble. 5 minutes later, they came back. Their attorney spoke first. My clients are willing to drop the quiet title petition. In exchange, Mrs. Hayes drops all financial claims. Robert didn't hesitate. Unacceptable. Your clients committed fraud. Victoria's voice shook. We didn't forge anything. Someone at the office must have. Robert slid another document across the table. The document has email metadata, sent from your personal Gmail account. Silence. Victoria's hands gripped the edge of the table. I spoke for the first time. Ethan, look at me. He lifted his eyes, reluctant. Did you know she did this before? To her first husband? His face changed. Confusion, then fear. He turned to Victoria. Victoria, is that true? That's irrelevant, and… I kept my voice level. She convinced him to sell his family home too, cut him off from his parents. It's in the court records, public information. Robert slid the file across. Thomas Grant, 2016 to 2018. Same pattern. Ethan stared at her. Victoria, is that true? It was different, he was. Yes or no? It's complicated. Ethan pushed his chair back, stood. His hands were shaking. I need to see those records. Robert slid the file across. Ethan read, page after page. His face went pale, then red. Then something broke. He looked at Victoria. You told me she was manipulating me. You told me I needed boundaries. You told me. His voice cracked. Was any of it real, or was I just another house to extract? Victoria reached for his hand. Ethan, it's not like that. He pulled away. Don't touch me. He turned to me. And for the first time in 4 years, I saw my son. Not the man Victoria had shaped. The boy who used to sit with me on the porch, counting stars. Mom, his voice broke completely. I'm so sorry. He couldn't finish. Just stood there, shaking. And then he did something I hadn't seen in years. He cried. Not quiet tears. Sobs. The kind that come from realizing you've destroyed something you can't rebuild. Victoria stood. Ethan, we need to leave. Now. But he didn't move. He looked at me. How do I fix this? I didn't answer right away. Just looked at him. At the man who'd signed papers to erase me. At the boy who used to call me Mama. You start, I said quietly, by telling the truth. To yourself, about who you became. And why. He nodded. Wiped his face with his sleeve. I'll do whatever you want. The house, the money, whatever it takes. It's not about the house anymore, Ethan. It never was. Silence. Victoria grabbed her purse. I'm leaving. No one stopped her. The door closed. And in the silence that followed, I heard something I hadn't heard in years. My son. Breathing. Like he'd been holding his breath for 4 years and finally let go. 3 days later, he called Robert. They'd sell the house, pay off the mortgage, transfer the remaining equity. About $80,000. To me. I dropped the charges and the counterclaim. Robert drafted the settlement agreement. Thursday afternoon, we met at a notary's office. Ethan signed. His hand shook. Victoria wasn't there. She'd left 2 days earlier, moved back in with her mother. When he finished, Ethan stood, looked at me. Can I hug you? I stood very still. Thought about it. Not today, Ethan. Maybe someday, but not today. He nodded. Started to leave. Then stopped at the door. Mom? I looked up. I hope you're okay, he said quietly. I hope you find whatever I took from you. Peace, or happiness, or just okay. His voice broke on the last word. I didn't answer. Just watched him leave. The door closed. I stood there holding the signed papers that gave me back my house. And took away my son. Robert put a hand on my shoulder. You did the right thing. Then why does it feel like this? Because love doesn't stop just because someone hurts you. That's what makes it love. I folded the papers. Put them in my bag. What happens now? I asked. Now? You go home. You rest. You figure out what comes next. And Ethan? Robert was quiet for a moment. He'll figure it out too. Or he won't. But either way, Claire, that's not your job anymore. I nodded. Walked out into the afternoon light. The sun was setting, golden hour, warm light on my face. I closed my eyes, felt the heat. The loudest justice, I'd learned, is the one that doesn't say a word. It just closes the door quietly behind it. And hopes, maybe, that someday someone will knock. 1 week later, I stood in the house. My house. Again. Late October afternoon, sunlight slanting through the living room window, dust particles floating in the beam. The smell of Victoria's perfume still lingered, mixed with something stale, closed-up air. The clock on the wall ticked, the one David and I bought our first year of marriage, still keeping time. Everything else was theirs. The white leather couch, the abstract art, the stainless steel kitchen. They had 30 days to move their things out. They hadn't come yet. I walked barefoot through each room, felt the cool wood floor under my feet. Didn't sit on the couch, didn't open the bedroom door. This house was mine again. But it wasn't home anymore. They'd taken that with them. I went out the back door, sat on the wooden steps, paint peeling under my hand. The swing David built swayed slightly in the breeze, chains rusted, still moving. I pulled an envelope from my pocket, photos I'd kept in my wallet, Ethan from newborn to 12. I didn't rip them, didn't burn them, just stacked them carefully, slid them into a small box. I wasn't erasing him. I was putting him somewhere safe, where he couldn't hurt me anymore. I held the box, looked up at the sky, clear blue, no clouds. Part of me wanted him back, the little boy who used to sit here with me, counting stars. The one who called me Mama until he was 8 because he said Mom sounded too grown up. A tear slid down my cheek. Not from anger, from grief. But that boy is gone. And maybe that's okay. Maybe I needed to stop mourning who he was and accept who he chose to become. I walked to the corner of the yard, where I used to have a rose garden, overgrown now, weeds thick. I knelt, dug my fingers into the dirt, felt it under my nails, rough, real. If I was starting over, I'd start here. Not in the house, in the ground. I'd replant this garden before I left, not for Ethan, for whoever came next. Some things you plant knowing you'll never see them bloom. And that's okay too. I went back inside, washed my hands, cold water over dirt, sat on the front steps with my phone, scrolled through 4 years of texts with Ethan. My finger hovered over, delete all. Part of me wanted to keep them, proof that I tried, proof that I loved him. But the stronger part pressed the button. Watched the loading circle spin, watched 4 years disappear. Not from anger, but to make room for what comes next. The sun was setting, golden hour, warm light on my face. I closed my eyes, felt the heat. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean he's earned it. It means I'm not letting this define the rest of my story. It means the sun still rises, even on empty houses, even on empty hearts. A small bird landed on the swing, sang once, clear, unexpected, then flew away. I smiled. The first real smile in months. I didn't know what came next. But for the first time in years, that didn't terrify me. They said I'd lose everything. Turns out, I only lost the ones who already left me. It felt like breathing, like waking up, like the first morning of spring after a winter you thought would never end. 3 months later, I heard about Ethan through Sarah. She ran into him at the grocery store, called me that evening. He looked smaller, she said. Tired. He asked about you. What did you say? I said you're doing okay. He nodded. Didn't ask for your number. Good. She paused. Claire, he's working 2 jobs now. He and Victoria moved to a small apartment across town. She filed for divorce in December. He didn't contest it. I didn't know what to feel. Relief maybe. Sadness. Mostly just distance. I sold the house. Couldn't live there. Too many ghosts. Too many versions of myself I didn't recognize anymore. After the sale closed and the mortgage was paid, I had about $80,000 left, enough to buy a small condo near downtown. 2 bedrooms, balcony overlooking a park, large windows, light everywhere. It was smaller than the house. But it was mine. Really mine. I didn't go back to the craft store. Couldn't walk those aisles without remembering the floor, the fluorescent lights, the taste of metal in my mouth. Instead, I started volunteering at the public library. 3 mornings a week. teaching seniors how to use computers, how to email their grandchildren, how to video call. Turns out, being invisible for so long taught me how to see others who feel the same. Sarah and Sophie came by sometimes. Sophie called me Mrs. H. We baked cookies, made cupcakes, the same recipes I used to make with Ethan. One afternoon, Sophie looked up from frosting a sugar cookie. "Mrs. H, do you have grandkids?" I stopped stirring. "Not anymore, sweetie." She thought about that, then shrugged. "That's okay. You can share me." I smiled, felt my throat tighten. Deal. There were hard nights. Nights I'd sit on my new couch, soft gray fabric, nothing like the white leather, and open my phone, scroll to Ethan's number, almost call. But I'd stop. I wanted to hear his voice, but I needed more than that. I needed him to choose to call me. And he hadn't. Until he did, sort of. 4 months after the settlement, an email arrived. 2:47 a.m. Subject: I don't know if you'll read this. I opened it in bed, the glow of my phone lighting the dark room. Mom, I can't undo what I did. I know that. Victoria's gone. The house is gone. And I'm sitting here in an apartment that smells like someone else's cooking, and all I can think about is your kitchen, the one with the yellow curtains and the cookie jar shaped like a chicken. I threw that away, didn't I? Along with everything else. I hope you're okay. I hope you're more than okay. I hope you're happy, or at least at peace. You deserve that. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know. I remember. I remember who you were, who you are, and I'm sorry I made you invisible. You were never the problem. I was just too blind to see that until you were gone. Ethan. I read it 3 times. Cried. Not from anger, from grief for all the years we'd lost, for the son I used to know, for the mother I used to be. But I didn't reply. Not yet. I saved the email in a folder labeled Someday. Maybe one day I'd write back. But not today. Today, I needed to keep walking forward. Through the grapevine. Sarah, mostly. I heard what happened to Victoria. The Pennsylvania Bar Association opened an investigation. The forged medical document. Identity theft, fraud. Her license was suspended. She moved back to New Jersey, living with her mother, working an admin job at a dentist's office. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt free. The house was gone, my son was gone, but I was still here. And that was enough. Winter gave way to spring. I planted herbs on my balcony. Basil, mint, rosemary. Watched them grow. One morning in early March, I stood on the balcony with my coffee. The sun was just coming up, the park below turning green again. And I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Possibility. Not certainty, not closure. Just a quiet opening. Like a door left unlocked, waiting. 6 months after the settlement, I went back to the craft store. Not to work, just to pick up a box of things I'd left in my locker. Photos, a sweater, a mug Denise gave me for my birthday. She was at the register when I walked in. "Claire, oh my God, we miss you." She came around the counter, hugged me tight. I hugged her back. We walked to the break room together, past the yarn aisle. I stopped where I'd fallen. The same fluorescent lights, the same coffee smell from the machine in the corner. But I didn't feel afraid. "This is where it started," I said quietly, "where I woke up and no one came." Denise squeezed my hand, but also where I learned I didn't need them to come. I could stand up on my own. She smiled, tears in her eyes. "Are you okay? Really?" I nodded. A real smile, the kind that reaches your eyes. "I'm getting there." We sat at the break room table, the one where I used to eat lunch alone. Denise poured us both coffee. "You know," she said, "after what happened, a few of us started talking. About our own families, how we let them take and take. And I called my sister. We hadn't spoken in 3 years because she said I was too available. Turns out, you inspired me. If you could set boundaries after giving your whole house, I could set some after just giving my time." I felt something warm in my chest. I hadn't just saved myself. I'd shown someone else that it was okay to say no, even to family. We talked for an hour. About small things, normal things. When I left, another coworker stopped me. "Have you forgiven him?" she asked. "Your son?" I thought about it. I don't know. Forgiveness isn't a switch. It's not something I owe him or myself. It's just something that might happen, or might not. And I'm okay with not knowing. I drove home to my condo, pulled into the parking garage, took the elevator to the 3rd floor, unlocked my door. Mine, not given, not inherited, not taken. Just mine. I stepped onto the balcony, checked the lavender I'd planted last month. Purple blooms just starting to open. I watered them, watched the water soak into the soil. "This is mine," I whispered. "All mine." That night, I wrote a letter. By hand, blue ink on cream paper. I didn't send it, just folded it and put it in my desk drawer. But writing it mattered. "Ethan, if you ever read this, and I don't know if you will, I want you to know, I don't hate you. I don't think I ever could. You're my son. That doesn't change. But I've learned that love doesn't mean I have to let you hurt me. And walking away wasn't about punishing you. It was about saving myself. Maybe one day we'll sit across a table again. Maybe we'll talk. Maybe we won't. But I'll be okay either way. Because I finally learned what I should have taught you years ago. You are not entitled to me just because I gave you life. Love is a gift, not a debt. I hope you find peace, sweetheart. I really do. And I hope one day you understand. I didn't take the house to hurt you. I took it back to remember who I was before I disappeared into being your mother. I'm still here. I'm still standing. And I'm finally free. Mom. I folded it, closed the drawer, sat in my armchair by the window, opened a book, made a cup of tea. The sun was setting, golden light spilling through the glass. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I looked at it, thought about answering. Then I set it face down on the table. Not from fear, but because I chose quiet. They say blood is thicker than water. But sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do is thin it out a little. Let it breathe. Let yourself breathe. I gave my son a house, and he gave me back a lesson. You can't make someone love you the way you deserve. But you can love yourself enough to walk away. I wasn't erased. I was reborn. And maybe, just maybe, that's the happiest ending of all. If you've stayed with me this long, thank you, truly. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, I want you to know, you're not alone. And you're not asking too much by wanting to be seen. Drop a comment if this story resonated with you. Tell me where you're watching from. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it. Sometimes, the greatest gift we can give is letting someone know their pain is valid. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll be here, sharing more stories, because we all deserve to be heard. Take care of yourself. You matter.